Hello, I'm going to be watching this House of Sunny podcast. I haven't seen it yet. It's the one where they talk with Mr. Cropper, or at least talk about him. Maybe it's only about him. But anyways, I was curious about that one. I heard that they were sort of favorable to him, so it's probably bad, but I'm going to see what they say.
Food poisoning at the same time. Yeah, so that was fun.
What do you have, the bad fish? Like on the airplane?
It's really awful. Actually, the day that I was going on like a
I know, he does join. We welcome him to the show. Okay, that's what I thought.
new diet, a special diet, like a paleo thing. I was going to start my morning with some great bone broth, and I'd made it, I don't know, like a few weeks before, and at some point I put it in the freezer. Apparently I didn't get it in the freezer soon enough.
Gross.
I know, everybody listening is puking now.
Gas station sushi. I thought that was the culprit.
No, my own cooking.
Bone broth.
My own cooking. Anyway, we've got a special guest here today. I guess I'll just jump right into it. His name is Brandon Cropper. We call him Mr. Cropper around here, though, because he's going to educate us a little bit. How you doing, Brandon?
Doing very well. How you doing, Sonny?
So you're a teacher. Is that why you kind of go by the Mr. Cropper? Is that right?
Yeah, when I first started on YouTube, I was opening a private school. I've since closed it. My daughter's in a Montessori school. I achieved my main goal of getting her a good education. But yeah, that's why I took on the persona Mr. Cropper on YouTube, because at the time I was doing a private school.
I like it. So Mr. Cropper is an objectivist, and he's kind of a rabble rouser making some waves in the objectivist community.
Oh god. So he was trying to open a school and be a teacher, and that's why he wants people to call him Mister. It's because he's condescending to children. That's really bad. I thought he was just condescending to people in general, but it's specifically children that he's mean to.
So we brought him on to talk about it because we had a few.
Well, it's probably both, but like, yeah, the emphasis on putting children in their place is nasty. It's also contrary to objectivism. Rand said quite clearly that most people's minds are destroyed after age 7 or so. I don't know how old this school is for, but even when you get past that, you're going to find more like 8-year-olds who are still rational than 28-year-olds. Rand was not hostile to children.
Shows about that where we talk about kind of what's going on over there, and I think there's a little rebellion going on in the rank and file, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, things don't get interesting until you disagree, so I would say things are getting interesting, for sure.
Yeah, and I think for me, it's not so much, I feel I've been objective for about as long as you, I think, based on what you said on your show, like 25 years.
Yeah.
And I've been around the scene, and I've never felt, what bothers me right now is not that I disagree with people, because I've always disagreed with objectivists. We've always had good, fun debates, and I've always enjoyed the company of objectivists because they are intellectual, they want to chew ideas and talk about these things, and I'm finding that that isn't happening anymore.
Something weird is kind of like on the left where they can't handle comedy and stuff anymore. There's a group of objectivists that can't handle debate, they can't handle ideas, they can't give and take, they can't give a response for their views, they can't support their views. Something very weird's going on.
Yeah.
I like the left, in my opinion.
And that's it. It's kind of like they've lurched left, not so much in ideology, although that too, but in method.
I don't think that the left has an ideology. I've said this before, that I believe the essence of the left is groupthink. I believe that it is people who are afraid to think for themselves and just want to go along to get along. They accept whatever party line is going on in society around them, and they just try to live their life without worrying about the larger picture. That is the essence of the left, is to get people to not worry about the larger picture, just listen to the story given to you. That is the entire left. I don't believe it's an ideology. I believe it is groupthink.
Interesting. So that, what you're saying is
That's such an assertion without reasoning, and it ignores large elements of the left, like Marxism. Like, why Marxism instead of something else? Saying it's groupthink doesn't explain why they thought the particular things they did. You could groupthink any conclusion. You could groupthink in favor of capitalism. He really wants to be like a lectury persona, though, like he's telling us the answers. But he has no accomplishments or skills.
reason that they use these tactics and methods is because they don't want, you're departing from the collective, and they're kind of pouncing.
Yeah, and more than that, they don't want to be peeled off from the collective because they don't want to share my fate.
Right.
They don't care about the truth of the ideas, do they?
So
a lot of them see the truth of what's going on. They even see the validity of what I'm saying, and they see the bad behavior of the objectivists.
So how could that happen in objectivism, a philosophy that values independent thinking?
I'm still in shell shock about this. I told my wife just last year, I said, the one place the left can never infiltrate is the Ayn Rand Institute, because we would just ask them, what do you know about Atlas Shrugged? And they wouldn't be able to answer, and we'd kick them out the door. And I was wrong. They've infiltrated by threatening the lives and well-being of the people. I mean, these are a lot of Southern California people. Amy Peacock, Ron Brook, he used to be in the Southern California picture, and they're all of their friends and all of their family and all of their well-being and probably a lot of their donations come from people who are on the left or sympathetic to the left. So I think they are stuck. I think if they turned around and started saying Trump's not so bad,
Wait, why the hell would most of their donations come from the left? That makes no sense. And also, withholding donations is not threatening the lives and well-being of people. You don't need donations from the left. If they're pandering to the left to get donations to fund a classy, expensive lifestyle, then they're fucking Gail Winans. Fuck them.
They would be vilified. They would be destroyed. Their lives would be ended.
Financially.
Yeah, financially, actual real-world implications. In fact, it's taken me 5 years to get my channel back to where it was when they demonetized me. So I've only just been able to put ads back on because they said they wiped the subscribers down to 0, and you had to get everyone to press the notification bell.
Why did that happen to your channel?
They did it to everybody, presumably. I assume they didn't do it to everybody because it would have ruined some of their best channels, but they certainly did it to me and a lot of people. And so I went from 2,700 subscribers, and I could get 200 views immediately by posting a video because 10% or so people would click on it that day, down to 0.
Wow.
I had to rebuild my channel. I would get literally 6 or 8 views when I posted a video, literally.
So you think that...
Well, why doesn't he have a fucking website then? How stupid is this guy? Seriously, he does not have a website. YouTube fucked him over. He made another YouTube account and tried to build up an audience there, but he doesn't have any audience that he controls. He's just putting his fate in YouTube's hands again. Now, I saw something interesting. My friend showed me this the other day. Brandon Cropper. This is why I know he doesn't have a website. You type Brandon Cropper. Oh. Well, last time I saw this, my blog post was number 3 after his YouTube and his Twitter. Apparently it's currently number 2, which is hilarious. That he doesn't have his own, like, place to write anything at all. So my criticism of him just ranks at the top of the Twitter search for his name. Not like Brandon Cropper sucks or some other, like, keyword. Just straight Brandon Cropper. Anyway. Right, he doesn't have a website. Why doesn't he build an audience that YouTube can't take away from him? He, like, lost his audience and he still didn't learn his lesson? What is wrong with him? Like, he has YouTube and he has Twitter. Twitter can easily be taken away too. That's super unreliable. Why doesn't he have an email newsletter? Why doesn't he have a website? Why doesn't he have a homepage? Why doesn't he have a blog? Like, for me, I can switch video platforms. I'm not going to lose, like, a lot of users. Like, the people who don't care very much, they might only be on YouTube and not find the new stuff. But anyone who cares, they're on my newsletter, they'll check my blog, they'll read one of my forums, they'll find out somehow that there are videos on a different site. I could self-host videos if I had to.
I mean, I just don't see a whole lot of success, though, in objectivism. No offense to anybody, but I don't see that there's no objectivist channel that does really well, or you know, a thought leader in objectivism that's famous.
It's Charles too. That Rucka's famous, right?
Wait. Why is fame the goal here? Have they read The Fountainhead? Like, what is wrong with these people? He says they're not. She says that she doesn't see successful objectivists because none of them are famous. Like, why is fame the goal? What the fuck?
Yeah, Ruck was famous, but he got famous before he was an objectivist.
Yeah, and then interestingly, he gave Charles II a bit of a leg up with his fame. You know, he used his connections to give Charles II viewership and so on. And then Charles II ended up with a pretty good stream of money just for making really, really objectivist videos, which confused me for a while. Now I realize that these were just second-handers passed on from Ruckus channel who didn't really understand objectivism or Charles II. They were just in on a group thing.
I see.
And Charles II made a bunch of money on that. So yeah, I think objectivism. I was shocked by Charles II's success, but now I understand it better.
Okay, Charles II did not make a bunch of money. This guy, like, has no understanding of the world he lives in or something. Like, Charles II peaked at around $1,500 a month. That's like, what, 18K a year? And it didn't even last that long. And he's down, last I checked, he was down to like 700. Charles II Patreon. Now he's down to $630 a month. This is not making a boatload of money. Like, they just talked about Peacock and Binswanger and ARI. Those people make real money, like 6-7 figures of donations pouring in. I mean, the donations are certainly 7-8 figures, but I don't know exactly what they are. But they gotta be over $1 million a year. And then, like, what does Peacock personally get? That's gotta be 6 figures, but it could be 7, I don't know. Anyways, that's real money. 6 figures is real money. $628 a month is not making a boatload of money off of Rucka's fame. That is making a little bit of money and still needing his day job. Charles II has made like 4 figures, like maybe 5, like low 5 figures maybe. Like, I make more money off contributions than Charles II does.
I think objectivism is necessarily always going to address a small group. Look at the, did you think that you were a major objectivist 5 years ago?
Me? I mean, I started making videos in 2010. I never considered objectivists my primary audience
Right.
because it's too small.
Well, what if it turns out that you are one of like 25 important objectivists on the scene today?
Yeah, right.
or maybe 1 of 10, or maybe 1 of 3.
Yeah, I have a hard time believing that, I guess.
I do as well, but if the hard work and the lifting isn't being done by the people who are sitting here buying their stuff and listening to their speeches, if they're not doing the hard work and lifting, then someone's going to, and or maybe someone isn't, but I'm trying to do that, and it seems like you are, so we might have to arrogate to ourselves a little more importance than we thought.
Yeah,
I thought
perhaps.
just on YouTube doing videos.
Proper's trying. Like, I'll give him that. He, like, makes a lot of videos, but he's not good at the serious content. Like, I watched him talking about Sam Harris and trying to analyze, like, philosophy of mind and neuroscience and stuff. He just didn't know nearly enough about the subject to deal with it effectively. Hi, Alex. Sunny's okay, but, like, she was shying away from being labeled like a major objectivist for good reason. She's okay, but that's it. She's not great, and she knows it. She, like, knows what she is a lot more than Cropper does. Like, she's well above average. She's usually reasonable common sense. She has good points a lot of the time. Not like some super skilled expert. She's just like a solid American who's not fucking everything up. So that's good. And, like, she knows a fair amount about objectivism. It's good, but it doesn't make her, like, a major leader. Like, even if there aren't more other people, even if there aren't better people, that doesn't, you don't automatically become super important just because there isn't someone better. Like, she still is what she is, regardless of the need for more and better leaders. Anyway, these people, they ought to know that I exist. Like, if they don't know that I exist, it's because they're not looking. They could easily find me in the HBL archives. These are like 25-year objectivists. They should have been on HBL and, like, seen when I joined and talked with me. Sunny knows people from the what is it? Rebirth of Reason? Is that the one? No, Solo Passion? She had one of those people on her podcast. They she's talked about, like, make objectivism great again and leftivism and whatever. I've talked with those people. They know that I've written detailed analysis of chapter 1 of Atlas Shrugged. None of them were interested in discussing it. But, like, I posted serious objectivist material to their forum. They're all like, this is great, I'll read this and totally comment, I'm gonna print it out, blah blah blah. Then they do nothing, they don't care, but you know, they are certainly aware of me. Some of them. If she's relying, like, on the kind of person who just doesn't care about a lengthy analysis of Atlas Shrugged to give her information about what objectivists exist, if she doesn't look for herself and relies on that, you know, that's on her. That's her error. I'm not that hard to find.
Reached Rome, that's what I thought I was.
I just remember coming up and really admiring the objectivist intellectuals and learning a lot from them. And at some point, I feel like that's flipped, where now I hear them say things and I think, what?
Brandon Cropper would find me literally if he Googled his own name. He might decide to hate me or something, but that would be his error.
How can they be so ignorant? How can they not know they're just being dumb?
Yeah,
or really rationalistic? Or
let's give an example of that. Like, I would do the example of Amy Peacock being mad about the tariffs and simultaneously being mad that Trump hasn't done anything about Hong Kong.
Right, and that's a typical libertarian kind of stance. You know, free trade above everything, but then also we're supposed to support. Yeah, it's a very weird cognitive dissonance right there.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was her view.
Yeah, and well, she did on her most recent thing with James Valiant 2 days ago, I think, on None of the Above, and they went over it at length. And James Valiant said, if we have intellectual property right problems, then let's do cyber warfare attacks on them. Why do we have to do tariffs? That was his suggestion. Keep free trade open, but attack them through cyber warfare.
It's similar to the position that we can.
Wait, what the fuck? Okay, that actually doesn't make sense. If they fuck with us, use cyber warfare. And that's, like, nicer than tariffs or something? Like, I would understand if you said tariffs are the use of force, but cyber warfare is also the use of force, so I don't get why you'd think cyber warfare is better.
And they want, probably a lot of my listeners don't know this, but objectivists often call for, like, nuking Iran because other people did. So we can do that, but we can't let a single Iranian individual, we can't keep them out. for immigration purposes. We can nuke them into oblivion, but we have to let them cross the border.
Now, why can we nuke them? Because collateral damage, because it doesn't matter, their lives don't matter, it's the government's fault. That's why they should have been involved in their government, taking care of their government, so this shouldn't happen. We've got all that, right? But we can't put a tariff on China.
Yeah.
Why, we can put a tariff on China because China's egregious about intellectual property and about slave labor. They've got people locked in factories that are sending us notes, please help. There's terrible things going on.
Well, a tariff is a stupid way to deal with that problem. Like, I'm not pro-tariff. It doesn't actually address the problem. It's a bad policy. You're not going to fix the things he's complaining about with a tariff. That's just sort of like a token punishment that's not doing problem solving. Like, nuking Iran, for better or worse, it's problem solving. It's saying, here's a problem, and if we kill all these people, the problem won't be there. Those people will stop funding terrorism and so on. Putting a tariff on Iran or China does not solve the problem of all the violence going on there and being spread to the rest of the world and so on.
On China, that's why we can treat them badly economically. We can beat them up and we can say we're not going to be nice to you until you start treating your citizens properly. That's the proper way for us to behave. So why the objectivist leaders can't get this? There are no objectivist leaders. You and I are going to have to
Yeah, I watched your show where you said you're going to take over the bus.
Yeah, and it is some kind of bus because I get on there and I look up at the front to see what the guys in the front are saying about quantum mechanics because I don't know that.
Wait, so suppose a tariff does work, then what happens with the tariff with China? Is it we self-sacrifice altruistically for the honor of the Chinese citizens? Like, is that what he wants to happen? Like, tariffs are bad for us. They lower our standard of living. Unless you, like, the only way they could be good for us is if you think there's some sort of war act. Like, with Iran, like, boycotts and sanctions can help prevent them from building nuclear weapons or something. With China, I don't think there's an argument that we need a tariff on China so that they can't build certain things or whatever. Like, I don't think there's some sort of practical argument where we're trying to keep certain material things out of their hands. So, I mean, there's certain specific, like, military technologies we wouldn't sell them or whatever, but what do we need a general tariff for? Wayne Agony. You just have to start learning and go one step at a time. You have to learn ideas in a thorough way. Who is who? Anyway, yeah, so you need to learn ideas to the point that they become intuitive. So if you're used to bowing to social pressure, and then you learn an idea intellectually as an abstract concept, and then you get in a real life situation where you're kind of in a hurry and there's other people around pressuring you and so on, you're going to bow to social pressure. You're not going to have time to break out your philosophy idea. Like, you can think of the philosophy idea as sort of like being able to do some advanced math. It's like you're not going to break out your calculator in the middle of a social situation. Breaking out a philosophy principle is kind of like that. So what you need is for it to be like automatic, intuitive. You don't have to stop and think about it, or you're not going to be able to use it in your daily life. However, if you get to the point that it's second nature, that it becomes habitual, you practice it a lot, and that's how you think now, then it's going to happen in daily life for better or worse. Like, it might lead to conflicts with people, but if you practice something enough and get so used to doing it that it becomes automatic for you, then you're going to do it in more of your life. You're not just going to stop and consciously think, oh, what do these other people want me to do? I mean, you might do that if you're trying to be a conformist, but if you're trying not to be a conformist, you're not going to slow down and, resist their social pressure that makes you rush in order to think carefully in like an analytic way about what behaviors they want from you and how to pander to them. So once your intuition, your lightning fast calculations about how to do something change, you're going to be able to do it at least part of the time, and it'll start being part of your life. So start small enough that you can master something and practice it, and then you will see a difference and do it with more things.
So, and I look into it, and quantum mechanics, they tell me it's philosophically corrupt, it's not based on science or math, and they give me all their arguments and evidence, and I come out the other side knowing a lot about the situation and being able to appreciate things like string theory and know that they're nonsense because they can't be tested. You know, I get this knowledge from the objectivists, from the Ayn Rand Institute and so on. So they are brilliant people that I learn a lot from on a lot of subjects. But it is never the case that there isn't something that will pass my mind that I don't judge. Therefore, now that I see that they're in error, I have to talk about this.
There's always been some, like, if you don't agree, you're not an objectivist. I mean, I think Peikoff has said that a few times. There's always been some of this kind of snotty nastiness, I would say, that is unfortunate and is unworthy of independent thinkers. But it's really just been in the last 3 years, I feel like things have really gone off the rails in terms of you can't disagree. And if you disagree, you only get called names. You don't get argued with. And it started with immigration. For a while, I thought, I used to kind of believe the open immigration idea, and then reality kind of smacked me in the face. And you can't watch Europe, and you can't sort of see some of the things happening in this country, and you can't think about the threat of Islam and still be for open immigration. And just the out-of-control welfare state, and just all the facts. You just can't be for open immigration anymore. At least, and yet so many of them are, to the point that a lot of times their arguments to me are pure altruism. What about that woman and her child? And, it's just exactly what I would hear from the left. And I can't believe it's coming out of an objectivist's mouth. So we should have our immigration policy because the poor mom and the child who just wants her kid to go to a good school. Yeah, that's sympathetic, but that's not how you build a foreign policy.
Yeah, Ayn Rand said you can't use the law to stop someone else from bettering their life. And that's what they keep using. If you have borders, and that's using the law to stop people who are coming in from bettering their lives.
Yes, but we would be sacrificing in the process. And so that's the key, is that is an argument from altruism. It's not my problem. This is my society, and I have a right to it. And
I mean, Ayn Rand also covered that. She said you can't just say that you want to stop competition. She wrote an essay called The Divine Right to Stagnation. See, I just want to let objectives.
Wait, so is Cropper in favor of open borders?
No, I'm familiar with all this material from top to bottom. Because this is what they're going to bring up.
Yeah. So what do you say to that objection?
Well, as far as I know, she said immigration is a value to human life, but she didn't say open borders. As far as I know, she only said open borders for 2 countries. She said any nation has a right to do whatever they want to Germany and Soviet Russia because of the behavior of their governments. Doesn't matter what you do to them, they can't claim any rights at all. Now, she didn't say that Japan or Australia were of such a nature in the modern day that we could go do that to them. If they close their borders, what are you going to say to them? That is the prerogative of the people inside that country. And here's another way I get at that. Here's the thought experiment that they bring up the one quote from Rand when she said in that question period. She said,
Oh, no, he was just playing devil's advocate, but he didn't answer his own devil's advocate very well.
I'd be against immigration because I wouldn't be alive today if I were. Good point. So she's in favor of immigration or else she would have died. Now let's say that we didn't let her immigrate. Let's say the American government stopped her from coming and left her in Soviet Russia. And let's say she died a terrible death in the gulag there and never developed her ideas. Whose fault is that? Is that the American government's fault or Soviet Russia's fault? So of course we can close our borders. And it's not our fault what happens to those people all around the world.
Right. It's just not our fault. And it isn't our...
Not letting Rand into this country would have been partly our fault. Like, we would have had a missed opportunity. Doesn't make sense to me to just blame Soviet Russia. Like, it's good that we let her in, and that made our lives better. Like, when there isn't a threat, a danger, immigration is a good thing. Managed a bit because we have a welfare state and so on, but, some immigration we want. The problem is there's an actual major threat. We're bringing in very large numbers of third worlders. We should bring in civilized people, primarily. And with our open border, people sneak across without even being screened, and criminals and terrorists do that.
It's not our responsibility either.
Exactly. We're not to turn ourselves into a machine that goes around the world hunting monsters, as our founding fathers said. We are 3% of the population of the world. We cannot let them just flood in here as they please. That is insanity.
It's insanity. And I thought that, I disagreed with everybody on immigration, and I thought that was the only issue. And I really was, this was a few years ago, I was very, very concerned about the language with which they were disagreeing with me on immigration. Terms like xenophobe, racist, evil, coming right out of the Ayn Rand Institute. And I kind of gave them a pass. I thought, who the hell is over there writing this shit? Somebody wrote on the ARI website or the Facebook page, used the word evil to describe people who didn't believe in open borders. And I just thought there's some rogue writer over there who said that and was very disappointed. But I thought it was limited to this one issue that people were really wrong about. And now I see though that it's bigger than that because it's every issue. And it's it's the tech companies. And it's not that I'm saying they should be for regulation of tech companies, but they won't even morally condemn them.
Yeah. Well, they could at least do that. They just go on about the free speech thing. So that's why I think that they are just leftist group thinkers. They don't have an ideology. And notice that if I'm right, it's not an ideology, it's just group fear. If I'm right about that, that's why the left would be able to take in objectivists who, ideologically, they do not fit. They just have to parrot some group line.
But why would they choose the right then?
Okay, they've chosen things which are nihilistic equivocations, modern nihilistic equivocations, so like free trade. The left noticed that we were in favor of free trade, and they said, well, what about free trade with the dictatorships? Why don't you free trade with them too? And so they destroyed the concept of free trade. We used to have a concept of free trade as low tariffs and low barriers among the free nations. And then we totally changed that. Now, 100 years ago we had that policy because importing cattle or something from...
Cropper doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. Oh, here's the video, by the way. Anyways. Free trade with nations that do not have free trade policies is still better for you. This is explained, in detail by Bastiat long ago. Cropper just doesn't understand free trade economics. I'm not going to go through this post right now, but... well, just a little bit. See, there's the anti-free trade people who say partially anti-free trade, who say that free trade must be reciprocal. Those people are protectionists in principle, just more inconsistent than pure protectionists. And anyway, read this whole thing, it's really good. Link it to Cropper. Tell him he's an ignorant fool who should read economics before talking about it.
From Argentina, say, would destroy the American cattle market because they can produce it for so much less down there because everything's cheaper because the country's less developed. So our founding fathers didn't want our country's economy to be destroyed by imports from other countries, and so they put in trade barriers even among the free world countries. Then that was all destroyed by modern nihilism, defining free trade as totally zero tariffs with everybody despite all context. And so now we're shipping factories and billions of dollars to our enemies, China.
That's what's crazy is it's not just Argentina or something, it's China. And
he's complaining that we're shipping dollars to them. I don't think he knows what dollars are. That means they're shipping us goods. They're building iPhones and shit for us. He's totally missing the self-interest of the Americans who are benefiting from trades.
And, when you look at what China's been doing for the last 20, 30 years, the military posturing, remember when our plane went down and they kept the plane and our soldiers for a few days? Remember that?
Yeah, they're not well behaved and they're getting worse and worse. That's definitely the case.
They're spying on us. And then even, I have to believe that somebody like Peter Thiel would not come out and say, I think Google's been infiltrated by China, unless he had some basis for that. And he's in that environment and he seems like a pretty calm, rational dude.
Yeah, he's not Alex Jones.
And for him to come out and say that, and based on Google's behavior, it wouldn't surprise me because they're acting like a communist dictatorship.
It's a lot like the CCP is running Google and Facebook, taking off anybody who says for freedom, Americanism, patriotism. If you say anything like that, you're gone.
Yep. Sure does seem that way, doesn't it?
I'm on one of these artsy sites where I put my art for sale, and at one point they took everybody off who was selling Americana or Trump paraphernalia, anything to do with them.
Okay, I'm not very persuaded by those claims. I think Google and Facebook are full of American leftists. I don't think it's a bunch of like Chinese agents or something. Like they have agenda overlap with China. They also have agenda overlap with Islam. Like they support fucking Islamic countries that behead gay people and like stone women for being raped and stuff like that. Like they're not principled, they're not reasonable, but it's not just about China where they're unreasonable.
Trump or American flags or patriotism, they should both keep off.
Yeah, our flag is now an offense. That's insane.
That sounds like the CCP is running things, doesn't it?
It sure does.
I think we have another age of McCarthyism in the House cleaning, and where Ayn Rand went before Congress and testified about what she knew about the communists in Hollywood.
Yep.
I think we need to open up the prisons and start putting some people in them.
We might have a China problem.
Yeah, a communist problem.
What's crazy is that no one was talking about this before Trump.
Yeah, you couldn't. And goddamn, if Hillary would have gotten in, you'd be arrested for saying anything about it. So we could have gone down that road. And look what Obama was doing to the Tea Party with the IRS.
Yeah.
And you think Hillary wouldn't have done that? If the Communist Party has infiltrated Facebook and Google, then what would Hillary be doing right now with absolutely no checks at all? So we're so lucky Trump got in, and we're lucky that Trump's talking about this and bringing back the rule of law. Attorney General Bill Barr is like manna from heaven for the rule of law in this country.
I hope so. I haven't seen it yet. I want to see him arresting people. I need to see some of these people go down. When Lois Lerner got off and all those people that did that, I just couldn't even believe it. We had a Republican Congress and they got off.
Yeah, as bad as that is, I think that things are getting better and there are threats being made and stuff being. The Democrats know that they could be in big trouble any second. They know that the noose is around their neck, basically.
Man, I can't wait. We need that.
Who knows if you'll tighten it? You might want to stay friends and be pragmatic about it. But the thing is, they do know.
Cropper likes nooses. Like he's just pro-violence. He likes violent metaphors. He wants to treat Democrats not with reason, persuasion, and philosophy and philosophical education, but with violence. And he fancies himself a fucking teacher.
The noose is around their neck, don't they?
I think so.
The FBI making up this dossier and giving it some knucklehead to give it back to them.
I'd be worried about it.
Yeah, I'm worried.
So back to objectives. So why didn't they go right? You think you were saying that the left noticed that they're for free markets and said, okay, we'll give you free markets. Is that all it took? The libertarian obsession with free markets? I actually think it is a libertarian invasion rather than a left invasion, although the left, I think, kind of owns the libertarians, or at least half the libertarians.
Yeah, I think they own the groupthink half for sure.
Well, let me throw something in here real quick, which is, I think it's a combination of factors. This wasn't an issue before Trump, because Trump was the first president to stand up to China. Every president since Nixon has kowtowed to China. And so
I don't understand the idea that the left is giving them free trade. The left is not in favor of free. No one's in favor of free trade. Like, the right is doing tariffs. The left's not in favor of free trade either. I don't know what these people are talking about. Like, everyone hates free trade. Austrian econ and objectivism are like really unpopular. Like in society as a whole. Like as a percentage of all people.
when Trump started going after China, that enraged the Trump deranged left because anything Trump does is bad. And then at the same time, the libertarian rationalists who believe free trade no matter what, without any context or any appreciation or understanding or knowledge of geopolitical concerns and the threat offered by the Chinese communists. So you had kind of a perfect storm where you have libertarian rationalists who run the Ayn Rand Institute combined with the left suddenly being for free trade. Remember the WTO people? Remember the riots every time there would be a trade organization meeting by these anarchist leftists who were against free trade?
Mm-hmm.
Unused soil is not a major value. People should be able to settle it and claim it by settling there, basically. Like, use it, develop it, increase the value of it to actually be high, and then it's yours. What the hell? The Zapier bot just announced my stream after 30 minutes. Now, it claims that they check for needing to update every 15 minutes, so it should be at most 15 minutes late, and it's 30 minutes late. See, this thing just showed up. I'm not getting the link, Wayne Agony, but I don't really want to watch it anyways.
And suddenly now the less war free trade because why? Because Trump opposed it. So you've got a fairly, Trump is whatever, but the more level-headed understanding of the geopolitical concerns in China would say, hey, yeah, of course we like free trade with other countries that are free, but if we're dealing with Cuba or North Korea or Venezuela or the Soviets or China, you have to be very careful about what you do. And yet, because objectivists, I think epistemologically are rationalists, for some reason they completely and utterly drop this context. So what aspect of this is rationalism, which feels Trump derangement, in concert with this political shift we've had the last couple of years since Trump came in, where everything Trump does is wrong by definition, and that combination of things has set us off. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, to what extent is the Trump derangement syndrome caused by the threat to your livelihood? If you don't have Trump derangement syndrome, you will lose your job.
Yeah, I mean, to what extent is that connected? I feel like the right has a market. There are people who are successful on the right. There's a growing market on the right.
I think it's a hard argument to make to say, like, as we're typically the laissez-faire free traders, and so it's pretty tough, and you have to be intellectually competent to consider the full context and say, okay, yes, we believe in free trade, but look at this actual real-world situation where you've got this specific country, China, it's got a billion people, has an army, has a communist party, it oppresses people, blah, 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 steals our IP, all these things are going on, and so you have to look at that and be able to say, okay, let's untangle this. Like, maybe we should embargo countries like this, maybe we should have tariffs, maybe, and there's the concerns over our basic industry. Should we, as a country, we think of ourselves purely as individuals, yet there are certain circumstances where it's national and self-interested to think of yourselves as part of the group, particularly when we're concerned about the preservation of our country and our institutions and our values. So, if we don't have a basic industry producing things like aluminum and metals and so on, and we offshore all that industry and manufacturing, if we find ourselves in a situation where we were at war and we're reliant on China for rare earth metals, which are used in, in digital and satellites, and we're relying on other countries to import certain basic materials. So you do have to think about your country, and I think that is hard thinking. And I think on the surface, these involve concepts that objectivists are uncomfortable with, like thinking nationalistically about the preservation of the country, thinking about national defense, thinking about ways to go after.
But why, Doug? Why are they uncomfortable thinking about this? Because you aren't, I'm not, Brandon isn't. Ayn Rand wasn't. Ayn Rand talked about nationalism very rationally when she said, well, there's either, I love what you said when you said, Brandon, French people should be American nationalists. And to me, that was like a perfect way to make that point. It's not like we're Nazi nationalists. We're not saying, the Vaterland, no matter what, we're exterminating people, but so what? We love our country. That's not it. We're not racial about it. America is completely different. And caring and loving this country is different.
The thing that happened with the oil is Western oil companies went to develop it, and they made deals, and they had contracts. And then those were broken by force, and the Western governments did not stand up for their property rights. That's the short story. It was really bad. And it's caused huge, huge problems because you have these oil sheiks or whatever. These people with a lot of wealth that they have no right to and didn't earn. And, like, when thugs have huge amounts of wealth, they're going to use it badly. Whereas when people actually earn their wealth, that shows some productivity, some morality, and so on to earn the wealth themselves. So they generally use it somewhat better.
I just want to point out that in the comments of that video, a Pakistani said that he was an American patriot.
Oh my God, exactly. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We know we got people in Hong Kong. So, yeah, it's true that everyone should support America.
Yeah, and Ayn Rand said as much, and she was very pro-American. And, when the objectivists criticize you or me or our views, they say things like, you're a white nationalist because you're an American nationalist. That automatically somehow discounts all the black people who live here and all that. Somehow you're just for your race. And you're xenophobic and you're racist. And they smear people on the right as being, unprincipled because we, for some reason, in order to fight the left, are somehow willing to give up all of our principles and just go for a totalitarian, which is Trump supposedly, and white nationalism and join a collective and become collectivists. And I just don't see it that way. And I can't figure out how they're seeing it that way. And I just feel like it's really, you're not going to change anybody. You're not going to help people on the right not choose white supremacy, say, over, more of a principled American-style liberty. If all you're doing is yelling at them and not acknowledging there are very real problems going on in this country, like all the racism heaped on against white people.
Yeah,
that's serious. And if we're concerned about that, that doesn't mean I'm a collectivist white supremacist. I just don't want to be targeted for my race. And I mostly think about my little daughter. It's not so much going to be my problem, but I don't want her growing up in a society where she's a minority amongst a majority that hates her for her skin color.
Yeah, and we thought we were doing away with that. We thought we had ended that situation. I mean, that's what the whole equality and affirmative action and everything was all about, was let's all just be equal. I mean, let's be honest, it wasn't Mexicans and black people who started that system. It was white people.
Yeah, I mean, does that even matter, though?
Exactly. Well, if you guys think in terms of race and groups, then the white people need a lot of credit. They're being attacked the same way the Jews were being attacked for being wealthy and having a lot of money.
Right. That's right. Success is white privilege. And yeah, so my point is that if you start talking about these issues around objectivists, you get smeared as racist.
Yeah, no, I want to mention Yaron Brooks said white nationalists, and that is either a smear or an anti-concept, because if he means racist, then he should say racist or white supremacist. White nationalist just means a person who supports their nation and has white skin. So to use that as a synonym for a bad guy is very inappropriate of Yaron Brooks.
It's kind of racist, actually.
Yeah, he's race baiting, and he's being suckered in by the people who are racist, and he's joining. I mean, what the hell is going on when objectivists are calling each other racist? He's calling us racist because we support America, and we're calling him racist because he's behaving like a retarded leftist.
Yeah, it's crazy. Seriously, what is going on? Why is this happening? And
I just
want to play something for you because, so, I wish that rather than insult and smear people who are fearful of what they're seeing in their country, which is this anti-white hate building and growing, and people openly talking about genocide, openly. I just saw a video.
It's happening.
What's that?
Genocide's happening in South Africa.
Well, according to your own, it is not, and there's nothing to worry about in South Africa, which is insane.
If it's only 70,000 a year or less, it's not genocide. So right now, it's not genocide.
No, but I think there's an organization that tracks the genocide risk around the world, and they actually have them at the stage before genocide. So that's pretty serious. And that's a nonpartisan genocide watch, I think it's called. And anyway, and instead of saying, hey, everybody, like I see what you're talking about, just be sure that you don't go down the road of becoming a white supremacist and talking about the dangers of that from an objectivist perspective and why collectivism is bad. And instead, he just insults and smears people. And not just him. I'm not just piling this on your own. I kind of feel like it's a problem going on in objectivism. And there's this woman who is a conservative. She's a full-blown religious conservative. Her channel is Amazing Polly, and she does like research on conspiracies. So she doesn't even talk philosophically really. And here's how she frames why don't be a collectivist. And I listened to this and I thought, why isn't this kind of thing coming out of objectivism? Why does it take some right-wing conspiracy researcher to say something like this? It really bothered me how good this was, coming out of just a layman, not even an objectivist or even someone familiar with objectivism. So listen to this, just an American who has American values.
Even some people I would say on our side, they are begging, oh, join the collectivist group, join the white collectivist group, because it's the only way that we can fight these people back. I will never be a weakling hiding behind, oh, you're victimizing the whites, Get over it. I'm strong. I'm gonna act weak. That's what they want us to do. They've laid out the card game. Here are Muslims, here are gay people, here are disabled people, here are deaf people, here are trans people, here are black people, here are Mexican people, here are legal people, here's all your victim cards. And they're like, wait, you want in? You want to take some of these? You want to play? You want to sit at this table? And there's actually white people out there saying, yes, take the cards, let's play this poker game. And we'll all be trapped in it forever. We're just another of the victim groups lobbying the government for like handouts. No, we are strong. We are strong. The problem has never been white, Jewish, gay. That's what they want us to think. It's always been weak versus strong. It's always been good versus evil. It's always been virtuous versus immoral.
What? I mean, right?
That was absolutely nothing special. It wasn't philosophical. Why would you need to be an objectivist to say that? It's like standard right-wing American politics kind of talking.
I can't believe that's not coming from the Iron Man.
Like, it's somewhat good. It's on the right side or whatever, but like, it's hard to tell. Like, that person might be terrible in lots of ways. You don't really know. It was pretty vague. But like, they could be pretty good. They could just be like a well above average normal American who's right of center and has some decent ideas and doesn't hate their country and so on. But it wasn't like some philosophical speech that was impressive.
Like, she should be working the other end.
Right? There she just made
It was kind of just cheerleading for the right.
Case, and she brought it to morality, and she did it that's exactly what we should be hearing out of ARI, and we're not.
Yeah, that's amazing. It was beautiful.
Sunny thinks that was philosophical because she mentioned morality. She mentioned good and evil. George Bush mentioned good and evil. Doesn't make him a fucking philosopher. Like, it's good that they mention it, but it's not like a lot. It's not that unusual. It's not special.
Statement. I've said before that the people, the patriots, the regular American people that have been raised with American individualism as their value, people who like Trump and liked Reagan, those are the good people of this nation.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Now, there's something Cropper says that I agree with, and I think that's the type of person we just listened to a clip from. And Sunny's so impressed, and Cropper, I think, maybe knows there's a lot of people kind of like that. Trump won the election from people like that. Like, that's above average. You know, most of them aren't that articulate, but there's a lot of people who kind of agree with that kind of statement. It's not some special philosophy thing.
Your own broken company just dismissed them all as a xenophobic,
unintellectual, racist, dumb. This woman is not specifically educated. I mean, she's a regular Christian conservative.
Yeah.
You know, she's a regular person, and she can come up with a statement like that.
Yeah.
Well, Sunny knows too. Regular Christian conservative. Exactly. That's what she is. You can find more of them on Twitter or something.
Being brought up in America, understanding American individualism and freedom, you internalize and you use that as your compass. And then when you face collectivist groups, you think about it. Candace Owens did the same. To my knowledge, she's not an objectivist. And she said in one of her interviews, she said, the other side is groups. It's collectivists. Everything on the left is collectivist. It's group oriented. And I don't remember what else she said after that. But I just, it struck me that even the people on the right are appreciating that they are individualists and the left are groups. So these are our constituents. These are objectivist friends. If not objectivists, they're at least our friends. I mean, the left is not our friends, for God's sakes.
I know. I'm scratching my head. You look at the news. I see Antifa. I see deplatforming, demonetizing, silencing. I see a government that is knee deep in corruption, neck deep in corruption. And socialism waiting in the wings here, and on the rise on the left, big time. I mean, you can't even say it's on the rise. The left is now full-blown nihilist socialist. Ocasio-Cortez, Ilhan Omar, those are the leaders of the left right now.
Now, I don't know if you know my extremely positive outlook on this. Do you know why I think that it'll be okay?
Let's hear.
Because we had a period like this that was worse than this in the 1930s, the red decade of the 1930s. And we came out of the other side of that. Great Depression was not a period of economic slump, it was a period of government activity.
We didn't come out okay. Like, we came out sort of okay. Some things have gotten better since then. But, like, the New Deal and shit started back then, and we're still dealing with the consequences with Social Security and Medicare, and, like, that sort of started the march of big government back then. Like, things got very long-term fucked up in very big ways. The government was much more limited in, say, 1900 than now. Like, the Great Depression was not just a temporary economic setback. Which, by the way, they're never temporary, because if it didn't happen, you'd be further ahead. It's like, if you're increasing your wealth by 10% every year, so you double every 7 years or whatever, then if you don't have a setback, you could be at like 16x, whereas if you did have the setback, maybe you're only at 10x. Like, you're just way less than you could have had. So it still matters even if you have a recovery. But anyways, the government policy changes back then have really put us in the wrong direction in some major ways. So we have the ongoing legacy of that was actually a disaster. Beyond just the wealth destruction.
I don't think we'll have 95% tax rates again. We're going to have a rough time, and we might even have some violent clashes. We might have to do something about Dearborn, Michigan. I don't know. But Europe is definitely going to have to do something about Paris and Sweden,
Yep.
and I don't know if they're going to do anything. It might be just like Eastern Europe just disappeared for 50 years. It was gone for 50 years.
Right. It's really crazy what's going on over there. I know a lot of French people and women, and they can't, in their small towns, they can't walk down the street anymore. And the towns where they're still safe are just too expensive to live in. And
this is in Europe, where you used to get Sundays nude in the park,
yeah.
and gay people could walk around in Amsterdam hand in hand and make out in public.
Right.
That's all gone. You can't hold hands in Amsterdam anymore. You can't even hold hands.
Really?
They'll get beat up. They'll get assaulted. Yeah, it's extremely dangerous.
And they're putting Tommy Robinson in jail.
Yeah, convicted of journalism.
Yes. So that's the state of Europe. It's very scary over there.
That was just a show trial, kangaroo court show trial. That's all Robinson was.
You know, your own doesn't like him either.
Well, he's a racist, according to your own.
It's incredible.
Do you remember when racists started taking over the British National Party and Tommy Robinson threw a big fit and left?
Yes.
He's not a racist. He hates the racists. He specifically said, "We are not doing this for skin color. We're doing this for Britain."
Right.
So, and yeah, your own will not say anything bad about Antifa, especially when you mention the Proud Boys at the same time. He says they're both thuggish groups.
Right.
As if one of them didn't start it and the other one's a response. I mean, do we have no values left in our minds? We can't even look at the world. The world's just to blame.
Some of what Cropper says is okay, but like a lot of those political comments are pretty decent. But when he tries to be more philosophical, he's not good at it. And for politics, you can just go to frontpagemag.com and you'll find people who are like equally good or better.
Just reacts to the moment. That's what Iran is doing.
What's crazy about that is in this country, even if you're a Nazi, you get to march. And the fact that Antifa goes there to attack even a Nazi, it's just not right. That's not the values of this country.
Yeah, why would it matter if Tommy Robinson were a racist? I mean, if he's being thrown in jail because of his viewpoints or his opposition to Islamic rapists, why shouldn't we, support a dissident who's being persecuted for his views? And I mean, not only would that be the right course of action with that and with the Antifa Proud Boys thing, but on top of it, they're not bad guys. The Proud Boys are not the instigators. They're going there to being attacked, suppressed with the aid and abetting of the local government, and which is encouraging lawlessness and anarchy. So
there's this bizarre, like the pedophilia thing is throwing me for a big loop, and that's partly what he's involved in too over there, and that the police were involved in it, and then covering it up. And the fact that that's part of this is so weird, and that just really speaks to the degeneracy of the left. That where you find them in charge, you find massive pedophilia.
Yeah, I don't have a theory on what the hell's going on with that, except general degeneracy of our values is what they want to do.
Right. I think that's what it is.
I wanted to make a quick point, going back to the IRI folks and like why they take.
Well, yeah, the left tries to destroy the institutions of civilization. They've done this in lots of ways. That's why they're into gay marriage. That's why they're into marijuana. That's why they're into transsexual stuff. That's why they promote Muslim socialism, like, over and over again. They try to undermine and destroy civilization. They want a revolution. They want to destroy the existing order so they can put their Marxist utopia in its place. They keep looking for things that are bad for America. That's where their views on sexuality and marriage and single mothers and so on all come from.
This approach, and it goes back to an article that I criticized that Gade wrote about Trump, and it speaks to their rationalism. An example would be, this is a great example, particularly with respect to the religious right, where, in the objectivist mind, in this rationalist mind, they think of something like mysticism, and they think, mysticism anti-reason, therefore all mysticism bad. And so they're unable to then differentiate between, let's say, a modern American Christian.
Oh, and for the pedophilia stuff in particular, a lot of what's going on there is that the left is pro-criminal. Like, they constantly are defending criminals. Criminals are trying to harm society, and the left is constantly making excuses for them, defending them, trying to get them out of jail, trying to prevent them from going into jail, and so on. So I think the pedophilia stuff in the UK, the Pakistani like rape gangs and whatever, I think that's better looked at more as a pro-crime attitude from the left than a pro-pedophilia or pro-rape or whatever. I think they're just soft on criminals as the main issue.
And ISIS is jihadi, because they're both mystics. So in their mind, they hold this concept of mystic, and they're unable to contextually value and say, all right, American Christian who goes to church on Sundays, loves America, votes for Trump. In their mind, that person is bad or worse than the Islamic radical. And so you saw this kind of thinking when Gandhi was criticizing Trump, where he was saying things like, well, Trump's anti-intellectual, and Trump lies. And so he would take and isolate these pathologies, these sort of philosophical pathologies or ethical pathologies, and say, because of that, he's a bad guy. And so everything he does is bad, rather than saying, well, all politicians lie. Hillary's a liar. We can isolate her philosophic pathologies too. And in fact, maybe in certain contexts, it's a value to be anti-intellectual. Most Americans that still, our country's been saved by anti-intellectuals, people that didn't go to the universities who still love this country, who have been inculcated in the cult of leftist dogma. So, to say something like, mystics all bad, anti-intellectual people all.
They're not anti-intellectual just because they reject academia and the authority of some media article summary of what they claim some scientists have proven. Like, rejecting that bullshit does not make you anti-intellectual. A lot of people, they're not, particularly intellectual, but not being an intellectual and being anti-intellectual are quite different things. I think a lot of those reasonable Christian conservatives are not particularly intellectual, but they're not anti-intellectual. It's not the intellect that they have a problem with. They have a problem with leftist intellectuals who claim the mantle of intellectual, and they don't like those people, but they're not just against like science and philosophy in general as a concept on principle. They're not anti-reason or something. Like, certainly they're inconsistent in some ways. Like, if you believe in God, you're not fully pro-reason, but that doesn't make you like a hater of reason. You can also be like, mostly, I think reason's a pretty good idea, and like try to do it some. Also, if you want to understand that kind of stuff, you should read Burke. Well, maybe. I think it's hard to learn even with Burke's help. Like, it takes a fair amount of skill to understand well. And Burke's kind of hard to read because he's 200 years old. Like, most people, instead of reading it and learning something about the value of tradition, they just see him say something positive about prejudice and yell at him. But if you read it in the proper way and you actually figure out what it's about, it's really helpful. People are right to be cautious about changing civilization. Civilization is important, and we don't want to fuck it up.
All bad. Therefore, anything Trump does or says, or no matter how he acts, it can never be the product of a fully realized sort of philosopher king. So we reject everything he says or does, and he's a bore and everything else. This is such a mistake and such poor thinking to not put politicians in context, to put facts in context, to say things, to not understand that the religious right now is not the threat in our country. It might have been 30 years ago. It might be in 100 years. It's not right now. The threat is the left and the right. Even the religious right are our allies in this case. They're the ones who are. It's Prager that's fighting against Google and tech censorship.
Really thought the religious right would be the anti-censorship people.
Yeah.
30 years
Exactly.
later.
But they're so rationalistic. Well, Leonard Peikoff said conservatives are bad and said religious right is the danger. Therefore, that's that's dogmatic thinking. Nowadays, that's not true anymore.
Well, that's what Brandon is saying, is that it's the collectivist thinking that.
The thing that gets me the most about the hatred of the religious right by the objectivists is that Trump is not religious. So why the hell do they hate Trump? Like, seriously. You can hate religious people. Trump's not religious. Like, maybe a tiny bit of lip service. But, like, is he more religious than Hillary? Quite possibly less. So I don't get it. Like, their biggest reason for hating the right, the religion thing, just doesn't really apply to Trump.
The groupthink that is screwing up objectivism.
I mean, I think I do get it, but it's very sad. Like, what does that mean? It means that, oh, they're religious was just an excuse. That was bullshit. I mean, the left is irrational in their own ways. So if irrationality meant you have to hate some side, like, they couldn't like the left either. The thing going on, I think, is they want to be prestigious. They want to be part of the cultural elite. They want to be accepted in think tanks and academia and stuff. They want to be on TV. They want to be Gail Wyman and shit like that. I think that's what's going on, is they're trying to fit in with and pander to the quote cultural elites, the quote intellectuals, the professors, and the journalists, and the think tank people, and so on. And when you're trying to suck up to that crowd is left-wing. So that's why they're siding with the left, I think. And that's why Trump not being religious doesn't make any difference to them. The people that they want to be friends with and want the approval of, they're trying to social climb with a bunch of leftists and gain social status with those leftists. And those leftists fucking hate Trump. And it's not over religion or non-religion. That was never the primary biggest issue. Or, I shouldn't say never, but it hasn't been for a while. Like the left is not like super hateful of Christian socialists. Like, if someone wants to be a Christian, but they're a socialist, the left is like moderately okay with that. In fact, a lot of people on the left are Christian. There are plenty of leftist Christians. Left is not just like atheists only. But the left is fucking anti-capitalists only. and some other things. Like, they're really into the collectivism and the big government, the powerful government, the authoritarian philosopher kings controlling the masses who they don't trust or respect. They want power and authority, chains and whips. They don't understand the harmony of interests, etc.
Yeah, it's not ideology as such. I think it's group thing.
It's a psychological thing.
Yeah. Well, it's not just psychological. Losing your job is very real. Losing your job is psychological.
Yeah.
So being kicked out of the Southern California in-group, I mean, Peacock and You're Unbroken, they have more than just objectivist friends. And if you're in Southern California, then you're in the beast of the belly of the beast.
What's funny to me is
Am I
that
going to change you guys?
does anyone go into objectivism to be popular? I mean, come on. These people, I think they're just really bad thinkers. I think you're right. It's easy for them to agree. They're culturally and spiritually and psychologically comfortable, I think, on the left.
Because it's more on the intellectual side, or they think it is. Because I don't really see that it is anymore, but maybe it once was.
In academic circles, I think they're from academia, and so they're more comfortable with that versus the deplorable American, the cowboy, the Second Amendment, country music listening American.
Yeah, Peacock got a fucking philosophy PhD, and a lot of them have now, and Rand didn't have a philosophy PhD. Peacock found it torture to get one. But he's become more and more friendly to those kind of people. Like, he put himself through hell to get their approval. He wanted them to be willing to hire him and respect him and so on. It's so fucking corrupt.
And who's patriotic, they hate that. That's anathema to them. And yet that's the fault line right now. It's the left versus those people.
The reason that they don't like those people is because they think that the only reason they love America is out of an irrational, fuzzy, it's home.
Yeah, they say if the right wins, then you'll be standing there with a bag full of religion. Is that what you want?
Right.
And I say, I don't think that the right is going to just go nuts religious. I think that separation of church and state is a value on the right.
I see that. I think they communicate that pretty well. And the other thing is, this has been a Christian majority country for a long time. So it's so bad. Wouldn't it have been worse 200 years ago?
Yeah.
When it was actually freer and better?
And more Christian.
So it just doesn't really connect, I think.
Well, yeah, but also, once again, it's an either or way of thinking. Like, we can't say, well, right now, here's the political threat. There's a real danger to losing the First Amendment, and that threat is not coming from religious right. It's coming from the left.
Yeah, our country did okay in the past with being more Christian. Like, it's had its problems, but that was not the problem, primarily. Christianity's not what's been wrong with our country. And that's because Christianity, at least the American version and certain ones in Europe, reformed in major ways. Like, when we got out of the Dark Ages and we became civilized, and like Western civilization got going, and we had the Industrial Revolution and had a decent amount of classical liberalism and free trade and so on. When we created the wealth and science of modern society, we were all a bunch of Christians, and we found out that Christianity was incompatible with that in major ways, and so we had the Inquisition and other problems. And we fucking fixed it. Like, not 100% fixed, but we fixed it good enough that we're not having inquisitions anymore. And we're able to have a Christianity that is part of modern civilization and part of society without having major ongoing conflicts with it. Christianity changed itself enough to be reasonably compatible with civilization. So that's why it's not like a major threat or causing major problems. That's what I think. Like, Christianity used to be barbaric, like Islam. But they had the Reformation and stuff. They saw that there were major problems and they made major changes.
Hate speech codes, and like what we're seeing in Europe right now, where they're throwing Tommy Robinson in jail, and what we're seeing with text censorship and the right wing of the culture to think, anyone who offends you is dangerous and has to be stopped and suppressed. So that's the real danger that we face now. If the right, yeah, I mean, we should isolate what the dangers of religion, the merger of religion and state would mean. So that's a danger. But that's way. That's like number 78 on my list right now of fears, is the merger of religion and state. I mean, right now, the religion and state is the left.
We actually also have that with environmentalism. We have a religion merged with state. So, Brandon, what do you want to see change in objectivism? Like, what are you hoping happens?
Well, I want the ARI to start parroting my views, first of all. And secondly, I think we should start addressing the real world a little more, because we've got Trump giving lip service to Atlas Shrugged, and we've got libertarians all over the place who believe in,
When did Trump give lip service to Atlas Shrugged? Source, please. I want to see that. If anyone knows what the fuck he's talking about, please tell me. Give me a link to an article about it.
less taxation and government equals more, so we should be careful with government and so on. There are people all over the place who understand these things. When Ayn Rand died, it was
Certainly not in the show notes. There's not a top comment. Like, you can sticky a top comment or whatever. So they didn't do that. Oh, this guy came on my blog. He was like really dumb though. He said he was not an objectivist and that he agreed with Cropper on biology stuff, like genetic determinism, contrary to objectivism. He thought that the objectivist views about blank slates were basically so stupid, ridiculous, and impossible that they shouldn't even be argued with or considered. But he was also trying to have a discussion with me, which was, didn't make any sense. Because he wouldn't actually give arguments, and every time I asked him for the arguments, he's like, "Oh, I'm not going to give details. Like, obviously, I'm right." Like, okay, well, why are we talking? What do you have to say? He just seemed to like be flabbergasted that I didn't agree with him and just want to yell or something. Oh, this sounds reasonable. Oh. Okay, I don't know. Oh. Okay, well, I'm glad she's willing to be corrected. That's a good sign about her. What are you talking about? They totally advocate open borders. Binswanger has written about that. Oh, diseases? So he's saying, yeah, but Binswanger is on the open border side of the political debate. Like, having rules for diseases doesn't make you a closed borders proponent. Like, there's an actual debate going on, and diseases are not the issue. This is a bad comment.
Was not the case. The left and the right were identical. Now, I just want to put a quick plug in here that I'm doing a project on my channel of basically figuring out what exactly the steps are from here. Step one for me is to prove that the modern intellectual scene in America is pretty good. And the way I'm going to prove that is interviews with a guy in France about politics in France. And he says that Ayn Rand is absent from France.
Yeah.
We've already discussed at length the current situation in France and politics. And we're going to discuss more so we understand. So tune into my channel if you want to know what would America look like if Ayn Rand had never been published.
America would look like France if we didn't have Ayn Rand? That seems completely unreasonable. Ridiculous. And he thinks he's going to prove something that we're good by comparing to what one guy says France is? That's so ridiculous.
And we were just rolling along as Republican versus Democrat.
Yeah, that's interesting. I agree with you, and I think there's when I was involved in the Tea Party stuff when that was happening, and everybody was reading Atlas Shrugged.
Yeah.
And you definitely hear it in the language in some politicians and thinkers on the right. I don't hear it on the left.
No, she's dangerous to the left and still is, yeah.
I remember going to a Tea Party event, and there was an objectivist booth where they were telling people about objectivism and like handing out pamphlets with some objectivist essay in it or whatever. So I have an experience to go along with Sunny's comment.
But the fact that she's popular on the right, I don't have to give objectivists a hint. I mean,
It's definitely a hint. Yeah.
So what do I want to have in objectivism?
Yeah, the fact that Ayn Rand is popular on the right, not the left, is a major hint. I agree with that.
I want you and I to keep speaking out.
Yeah.
Kyle, I think that that's not making your life better. I think you have a wrong attitude there. I know that there's personal negatives for you related to religion, but that's not the correct way to evaluate its role in the country. And you have to understand that non-religious parents are also extraordinarily cruel and abusive. No parents tolerate dissent. Like, it's not a fair comparison. All the parents are terrible and irrational and so on. It's not because of Christianity. Don't imagine that if you had a leftist atheist parent, they would be all nice and wonderful and supportive of whatever you wanted.
And make a fool out of these people.
I think more people are starting to say things. I think the more
Like, your parents, or at least your mom, sound below average. Like, there are plenty of better parents who are Christian or non-Christian. And still, just parents in general, very cruel.
people that speak out, the more people will speak out.
Yeah.
I pretty much don't agree with, I'll just make a statement here, I don't agree with the people running the intellectual side of the Institute on politics, I would say 95% of the time.
Yeah.
I think they're wrong.
I don't think they're supposed to say anything about politics because they're a nonprofit.
They're allowed to talk about it, they're not allowed to promote a candidate.
Yeah.
And,
That's
you know,
fine, isn't it?
when I'm sick, here's one thing they can stop doing right now, is say that when they speak, they're not speaking for Ayn Rand or the Institute. They are.
Yeah.
When Yaron is out there on his podcast, he is speaking for the Institute. He was just on the Ben Shapiro show, introduced as the person who runs the Ayn Rand Institute.
Yeah.
Whether he does or not, that's how he's being introduced, because he's chairman of the board. And I actually think Yaron needs to step aside. That's what
Yeah.
I would like to see. We need new leadership. Yaron wants to be a radio talk show host, and he wants to be sloppy on his show and not write things down like me, and that's fine. He can't then also be chairman of the Ayn Rand Institute. That's my opinion. He's too
Yeah.
sloppy, he's not scholarly, and he's getting it wrong a lot. And that's not to say that the intellectuals over the institute, like Ankar, I also think he gets it wrong. He doesn't write very often. When he does, it's embarrassing. And
let's not forget Harry Dinswinger.
yeah, Harry with the we owe immigrants an apology for stopping them at the border.
Yeah,
asking them who they are. How dare we?
And then in the next breath, he says it's okay to do health checks on them. Why is it okay to do health checks on them? Well, because objectively we shouldn't let people in our society spread disease. Oh, but we can let them in to spread violence and bad governance.
Right.
And if it's ever possible for like a society to be bad, and a group and culture to be bad, then it would be okay for us to drop bombs on them. So they definitely agree with the idea that society or culture can be bad. Now, can we stop those people from flying into our country? No.
Yeah.
That's bizarre. It's just bizarre.
It's really bizarre.
We can bomb the shit out of them. We can't stop them from flying into our country. We have to welcome them. That's insane. So what I want to happen is I want these people to answer for their views. Answer the rank and file here. The rebels are being roused.
That's right.
By the way, any collateral damage as a result of our exercise of our foreign policy defending our border, that's our fault. But if we do come, that's their government's fault.
And then the other thing I'd like to see is that they stop with the ad hominem.
Yeah,
Immediately.
nice.
And let's get back to actually being able to have a discussion as objectivists, as reasonable people. Every time I can have that with people, even when they disagree with me, it's a relief.
Yeah, nice, good, solid disagreement without insults. Would be nice. If the ad hominems are true and so on, then put them at the end of the paragraph. Like, show the guy's an idiot and moron, and at the end say, what an idiot.
That's how I ran to it.
Yeah, exactly.
She never thought she didn't have to prove her case.
Exactly.
Well, where's the scholarship? Where these guys are supposed to be professional intellectuals. Where's their writings on this? I'm an idiot, blogger who's written thousands and thousands of words on immigration, and I opened myself up and said, argue away, tell me where I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And it's exhausting because, especially in social media, it's just snark and snippets and
I don't even engage on Facebook
talking past each other.
Yeah.
These are complex political topics and applications, and so you have to start with your case and start.
Well, it sounds like we need a discussion forum. So I have one of those. These people do not have one and don't seem to be looking for one.
Some points, define things, and reference and link to other articles and bring in other history and context. And all these, this is complicated stuff. So that's what scholarship is. It's not screaming racism on a podcast. That's unbecoming of any intellectual, much less an organization that's asking for money to spread Ayn Rand's ideas.
Yeah, no, another way they could move towards actually spreading Ayn Rand's ideas, I think, for example, with the recent tariff thing, they could have done speeches or panels about how tariffs are actually bad for farmers and try to address farmers and agricultural groups, and maybe get a couple of pamphlets out there explaining, dear farmers, this is why you should not support tariffs for your products and so on. And use this as a time to spread Ayn Rand's ideas in relevance to current politics, because it's applicable today. They're just ignoring the political scene because it's
He was saying good things about the tariffs earlier.
all just mystics and all who cares about it. This is the best and the only political scene on the planet that anyone should care about.
Yeah, but they also don't give advice to farmers. They just bash them.
Yeah.
And so the farmers aren't listening to them.
Yeah.
And it's just a really bad approach. It's an antagonistic, nasty, mean approach to trying to sell ideas to people, and it's just bizarre. They're just condescending, like, oh, these farmers, these stupid idiot farmers, they don't get it. Well, explain it.
Yeah.
So.
And that's where some actual objectivist work could be getting done.
Yeah,
instead of name calling and parroting everything the left says.
It's kind of the thing I played about from Amazing Polly. To me, that is a positive, non-shaming way of convincing people not to go down the white supremacy route out of fear, or because we're seeing ourselves being herded into a collective, a white collective, and it's true that's happening. And rather than shame anybody who is in that herd, it's happening to us, but from the left.
That quote she played earlier, the audio snippet, I don't see how that would convince people who weren't already convinced. Like, I don't see what that is saying to someone on the other side that's going to get them to change their mind. I don't see it that way.
And so instead of shaming us, inspire us.
Yeah, it's weird. They push us into a corral and then they mock us for being inside the corral.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely all coming from the left, and the objectivists at the ARI would do better to be attacking the left than cozying up to every single last left talking point, including open borders.
Every single left talking point. That is, and then calling us names when we don't agree. It's got to change. The attitude has to change. And I have to think that attitudes, they come from the top. And I'm seeing your own on his podcast being dismissive, condescending, sneering. I mean, I don't think I have to look very far to see where this attitude is coming from, and I don't like it, and I'm sick of it. So I'm really glad you've been speaking out, and I'll keep speaking out, and maybe some changes will happen.
Yeah, hopefully. Well, we should probably talk again in the coming weeks as things develop and see
We'll see
what
what happens. Thanks for coming on the show. Hey, one last question. Did you do stand-up comedy?
Oh yes.
Really?
I've done many sets. I've never done paid much for it, only a few times, but yeah, I've done quite a bit. It's a lot of fun.
Because I've done it, and Doug and I regularly call each other and run jokes by each other.
Oh, really?
We're joke writing buddies.
Well, maybe we should have a relaxed get together and all of us sit around and just do
Do our joke
jokes.
premises?
Yeah,
Let's do it.
that's a plan.
All
That's
right, sounds good. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much.
So Sunny didn't have anything critical to say. She didn't have any hard questions. There were no grilling Cropper, no doubting him. She didn't challenge him, so that was really lame. So she didn't see through him. She didn't see the problems. She sees problems with Euron Brook, but she doesn't see what's wrong with Cropper. Well, that was sad. Alright, well, that's the end. Later, guys.